you're buying a house right now, has everything changed? No, it hasn't. So if you've been reading headlines over the last couple of weeks around the proposed settlement with the National Association of REALTORs, you may be wondering what it means to you if you're buying a house. Well, the reality is, if you were working with a top professional agent, not a whole lot has changed. If you were working with somebody, however, who didn't really dive into the educational side of representing you, well, their life might be changing right now, because in the structure of real estate, everybody does it differently. That's one of the things the public loves about real estate, is that you can find a connection and an experience that matches what you're looking for. It's also really frustrating for the consumer because there's been so little consistency in real estate. So maybe one of the really great outcomes of this settlement, whether it's right or wrong, wash that out, but one of the best outcomes could be a more consistent experience for people buying real estate, which is, no matter what the pundits and the trolls on the internet say, it's a really complex transaction. It's really not something you want to do by yourself. You can if you want to. I wouldn't spend my money that way, but hey, you do you, boo. So when we figure out what the structure is going to look like, I want to talk to you about how I conduct business, how my team conducts business, and why we think it's pro-consumer. We do things in a very structured way. Now, I love structure. If you know anything about me, you know I'm a systems girl. I like a checklist. I love a checklist. I even like them on paper because I like to be able to put little check marks on it with my ink pen and watch the progress go on. Some of y'all like electronics. That's fine. That's not this girl. So when you're thinking about the processes of working with somebody, going into what is for most people their largest financial transaction, which is also wildly complex, and let's also toss in, most people only do this 3 to 5 times in their entire lifetime. That's part of why it's great to have a realtor in your corner. I do this every day. I've been doing this every day for 24 years. So I've even watched a lot of changes happen in the way real estate's conducted. And also I've watched the laws change around the general statutes. I've watched the paperwork change and evolve. And my dad, actually, who's retired from real estate, loves to remind people we used to have a 1-page contract and a handshake. And now we have, of course, page upon page, and our disclosure documents keep getting bigger because there's more and more lawyers involved in things. But outside of that, it's big. And it changes. And if you're buying a house, you don't have to do this alone. I don't care what the headlines have told you. You can still have a realtor. And here's what that looks like to you. Most of us prefer that you are wildly educated before you walk into your first house. So here's how our process looks. You call and say, hey, Lee Brown, I want to buy a house. The next thing I'm going to say is, well, may I ask you a few questions? And that's not me being tacky or prying into your life. I want to know how to serve. I want to know what's happening with your budget and what's happening with your time frame and where you want to be. How close do you want to be to your mother-in-law before we set the search parameters? So we're going to go through a lot of questions. That's the intake process. And by the way, if you are a realtor and you don't have a great intake process, I've got a checklist over here. You can download it. Think about how good it is for the consumer to get all the information to you before you start making recommendations. Can we think about that for a second? How many people have gone into the real estate process kind of blind? They told the agent how much they wanted to spend, how many bedrooms and bathrooms, and then off they went. And the buyer's over here thinking none of this is right, none of this feels right. Well, it's kind of like if you went to the doctor and they gave you a diagnosis before weighing you. And I know you don't want to be weighed, but you have to do it. And doing your blood work. And I know you don't want to be stuck, but you have to do it. And when they start asking questions about how you feel, it's so they can start preparing the information to give you the best possible information. Real estate's the same way. So we go through our intake process to help figure out how we can help. The next step, step 2, that's the consultation. This is the part a lot of real estate professionals are realizing should have been in their process all along, but maybe they shortcut it or tried to consult on the fly by being buddies. The consultation is not about me becoming friends with you. And I do love my buyers. And if you're watching this, don't be hurt by this. You know that when I talked to you about the process and what to expect with multiple offers and the things we were going to be looking for, that I was helping you think through how to safeguard your outcome in this very complex, large financial transaction. And I do want you to be happy. And I love the hugs and the love and the jokes that we tell. But at the core of it, I've got to make sure you know everything as much as possible before we go forward. In that consultative process, My whole goal is helping the buyer figure out how to get what they want by me educating them. This is not about Lee Brown getting her way. This is not about me saying, I want to sell more houses. I want to be number one. The consultation itself is designed to get the buyer what they want. Now, what's that got to do with the consultation? Maybe they just want a house. Yeah, I get that. In today's market, and you might be watching this a year from now, the market may have changed. Everything is changing all the time. Real estate is fluid. So during that consultation, we're going to talk about in today's market, what to expect when you walk into a home. I worry about buyers sometimes who don't get a great consultation because they may not get the house they want. That's the worst outcome for any real estate pro, is to watch our buyer become heartbroken because they didn't get the house they want. And then later on say, oh, if only I'd gotten that house. And we hate it when you lose. And sometimes you would lose even if you were fully educated. But it's worse when you lose for no reason. Currently, as right now I'm making this video, we still have multiple offers in the marketplace. I know that some buyers are ready to make it happen. And I can see it in the offers that they submit with their agent. I hear it in the conversations by text and email and phone when they ask what terms are acceptable to the seller and how can they position their clients to win. Well, they can only position their clients to win when they know what their clients want. Then I see other agents who just blindly submit information without asking any questions, or they're not communicating at all, or I see an offer that comes in 20% below asking price in a market that does not support that right now. And I know that buyer's been set up to lose. I don't want my buyer set up to lose. That's the point of the consultation. I want you to know how you can engage us, what it means when we're engaged with you, what to expect with market conditions, how everything's going to work, when the money's going to leave your bank account. I want you to know all of that before we go to step 3. Step 3 is after you've decided I'm your agent. We go look at some properties. Now, why do I say after I've become your agent? Because it doesn't make sense for me, a stranger to you, to ride around with you to somebody else's house, take out my super key and unlock the door to their home and stroll around up in there with you, some stranger with whom I have no relationship, with whom I have no agency agreement, in somebody else's home where their babies lay their heads down to sleep at night and where mama had her last Thanksgiving. Really? No, we're not going to invade somebody else's sanctuary unless we have a good grasp on how real estate works, how the market works, and what my role is in it, so that if you fall in love with that house, we can get you into it. At the core of all of this, y'all, the focus has to be on getting the buyers what they want. Obviously within reason, within financing, within all those little asterisks that I know y'all are going to burn up in my comments, but the goal of any good realtor is to help their clients succeed. That's it. That's the one thing that you don't hear from HGTV shows. You certainly don't see it on Selling Sunset while you're drinking your boxed wine. You definitely haven't heard that in the outcomes of these proposed settlements. In fact, you seldom hear it from our trade association. There's a fundamental misunderstanding of what drives most real estate professionals forward. What drives most real estate professionals is a happy person on the other side of the transaction. This is why they stay up late at night. This is why they work 16 and 17-hour days, because you can't sleep, they can't sleep. They want you to get what you want. It's why they show up and spend hours upon hours at houses going over information to help make sure somebody else has a good grasp on it, because they want you to get what you want. It's why they fret over how to bring forward a pricing recommendation for a seller, how to guide a buyer on what you're going to have to bid to win this house, because they want the buyer and seller to get what you want. That's what we do. We want you to win. We want you to win ethically and with knowledge and with competence and being fully educated in the process. And we get there because we ask great questions in number 1 and we answer more questions in number 2. And then number 3 is a matter of lock and load and get the property accomplished. That should always be the goal. Will our markets be less efficient with this new proposed settlement? Of course, they're going to be less efficient. And frankly, what that means, if you're thinking about buying a house, you're going to need a realtor more in light of the proposed settlement than you did previously. Because previously, every bit of information was transparent. Under the proposed settlement, a lot of information is now going to be opaque, and it's going to take a great realtor to figure everything out so that you can be protected. And it also means that great realtor is going to have to help you figure out the pros and cons of the ways you can compensate that person. But that's what the pros are going to do. So is it going to be harder? Absolutely. Is it still going to be worth it? I'm just going to say, yeah. If you're tired of renting and paying somebody else's mortgage, well, then let's talk about getting you on that path to home ownership. If you're tired of your rents escalating like this in this inflationary environment, let's talk about how a 30-year fixed helps you stabilize your housing cost. Let's talk about what there is out there for down payment assistance, what programs are available if you're not made out of money. A great realtor is going to walk you through all of those things because you don't have to be a renter. I don't care what the government says. We are not a nation of renters. We are a nation of those who achieve the American dream. And the next one may as well be you. And if you're the realtor out there, you need to remember this. You're the American dream too. You just building a business out of a pocket card and out of nowhere, oh, that's amazing. So don't forget how wonderful it is to be in this service job and where our achievements can go when we take care of what somebody else wants. And if you need help putting that buyer consultation together, click on the link. We've got some really great resources for you. And then if you have questions about buying or selling in Concord, call this girl. My team and I can't wait to help because we love nothing more than turning over more keys and turning you into our next neighbor.